The breaking point. The massive conference chamber on Station Omega-7 buzzed with the sounds of a dozen different alien species. Chittering, humming, and electronic translations filled the air as representatives from across the galaxy gathered for what would become the most important meeting in galactic history. Ambassador Sarah Chen sat at the human delegation table, her dark eyes scanning the room with barely contained frustration. After 15 years of diplomatic service, she had never felt more tired of the endless bureaucracy that seemed designed to hold humanity back. Captain Marcus Rodriguez shifted uncomfortably in his dress uniform beside her. The weathered veteran had commanded 3 different starships and fought in 2 border conflicts, but nothing had prepared him for the political warfare of galactic diplomacy. His calloused hands gripped the armrests of his chair as he watched the alien representatives whisper among themselves in their native languages. The universal translators caught fragments of their conversations, and none of it sounded friendly toward humanity. Dr. Elena Vasquez reviewed her tablet one final time, checking the presentation she had spent months preparing. As Earth's leading xenobiologist and technology liaison, she understood better than most what humanity brought to the galactic community. Human medical advances had saved millions of alien lives. Human engineering had solved infrastructure problems that had plagued entire civilizations for centuries. Human explorers had discovered new trade routes and resources that benefited everyone. Yet somehow, humanity was always treated as the problem rather than the solution. The Zelani Prime Minister rose from his seat, his tall insectoid form clicking as he moved. Kethvar had been leading the anti-human faction for over a decade, always finding new ways to restrict human activities in the name of galactic stability. His compound eyes reflected the chamber lights as he began to speak in his species' characteristic buzzing tone. Honored delegates, we gather today to address the growing human problem that threatens the established order of our galaxy. The translation device rendered his words in cold, mechanical tones. For too long, we have allowed this aggressive species to expand unchecked, to develop technologies that disrupt traditional methods, and to establish colonies that encroach upon territories that rightfully belong to the established galactic community. Sarah felt her jaw clench as she listened to the familiar accusations. Every human achievement was twisted into evidence of aggression or disruption. When human scientists developed faster-than-light communication systems, they were accused of building spy networks. When human merchants established efficient trade routes, they were accused of undermining traditional commerce. When human doctors shared medical breakthroughs freely with alien species, they were accused of conducting illegal experiments. The Crystalline Collective's representative, a being of living mineral named Quartz Singer of Depths, added her harmonic voice to the chorus of complaints. Human expansion violates the sacred boundaries established by the First Compact. Their mining operations disturb stellar formations that have remained untouched for millennia. Their terraforming projects alter worlds without proper consultation with neighboring systems. Marcus leaned toward Sarah and whispered, "They're talking about the asteroid belt mining in the Kepler system. The one where we cleaned up the debris field that was blocking their shipping lanes." Sarah nodded grimly. She remembered that project well. Human engineers had spent 2 years clearing dangerous space junk that had been threatening alien vessels for decades. Instead of gratitude, they received accusations of territorial violation. The Aquatic Federation's delegate, a graceful being that required a specialized water suit to participate in the dry air environment of the station, rippled with displeasure as she spoke. Human fishing fleets harvest resources from ocean worlds with concerning efficiency. Their techniques yield far more protein than traditional methods, disrupting the natural balance that has sustained our economies for generations. Elena couldn't help but shake her head at the absurdity. Human fishing technology had been shared freely with the Aquatic Federation 3 years ago, when their traditional methods couldn't keep up with their growing population. Human techniques had prevented famine on 17 different water worlds. Now that success was being used as evidence against humanity. The session continued for hours as representative after representative stood to voice complaints about human activities. The hive consciousness accused humans of developing individual-based technologies that threatened collective thinking. The energy beings claimed human power generation methods were too efficient and made their traditional energy trading obsolete. The tree folk protested human terraforming techniques that could revive dead worlds, saying it disrupted the natural cycle of planetary death and rebirth. Finally, Cathvar stood again to present the coalition's formal demands. The Galactic Trade Consortium has prepared a comprehensive solution to the human problem. First, humanity will be restricted to their current 12 colony worlds. No new settlements will be permitted for 100 standard years. Second, all human vessels must travel with consortium escorts when leaving designated human space. Third, human technology development must be overseen by a joint alien committee to ensure it does not disrupt galactic stability. Fourth, all human trade must be conducted through consortium-approved intermediaries to prevent unfair competition with established alien businesses. The chamber fell silent as the weight of these demands sank in. Sarah felt her heart pounding as she realized what the aliens were proposing. They wanted to turn humanity into a client species, trapped in a cage of regulations and restrictions. They wanted to take away everything that made humans special: their freedom to explore, their drive to innovate, their ability to solve problems that others couldn't. Marcus was the first to break the silence. The veteran spacer stood slowly, his military bearing evident as he addressed the assembly. Honored delegates, I'd spent 30 years defending the peace and prosperity of this galaxy. I fought pirates and raiders to protect alien shipping. I've rescued survivors from disasters on worlds I'd never heard of before. I've seen human blood spilled to protect alien interests more times than I can count. His voice grew harder with each word. But I've never seen such naked fear disguised as policy before today. Elena rose next, her scientific mind cutting through the emotional rhetoric to the heart of the issue. You speak of disruption, but what you really mean is competition. Human medicine saves lives more effectively than traditional alien healing, so you want to restrict our medical research. Human engineering solves problems more efficiently than ancient alien methods, so you want to control our technology. Human explorers find resources and opportunities that benefit everyone, so you want to limit our expansion. She paused, letting her words sink in. You don't want to regulate humanity. You want to cripple us. Finally, Sarah stood. The diplomat who had spent 15 years trying to build bridges between humanity and the galactic community looked around the chamber at faces that had become familiar over the years. Some showed open hostility. Others displayed fear poorly disguised as concern. A few seemed genuinely regretful, but not enough to speak against the majority. 15 years ago, I came to this chamber as a young idealist who believed that cooperation and mutual respect could solve any problem. Sarah began, her voice carrying clearly through the vast space. I believe that if humanity proved its worth as a responsible member of the galactic community, we would earn our place among the stars as equals. She gestured toward the displays showing human achievements throughout known space. We shared our medical advances freely, saving millions of alien lives. We opened our trade routes to all species, increasing prosperity across dozens of worlds. We offered our protection to weaker civilizations threatened by pirates and raiders. We terraformed dead worlds and shared the results with anyone who needed living space. The chamber remained silent as Sarah continued. In return, we asked only for the same rights and freedoms that every other species enjoys. The right to expand our civilization. The right to develop our technology. The right to compete fairly in galactic markets. The right to determine our own destiny among the stars. Her voice grew stronger as she reached her conclusion. Today, you have made it clear that humanity will never be accepted as an equal partner in galactic civilization. You see our successes not as contributions to the common good, but as threats to your established order. You fear our potential not because we might harm others, but because we might surpass you. Sarah began packing her materials as she delivered her final words. Very well. If humanity is not welcome at this table as an equal partner, then we will no longer seek a place at it. Effective immediately, the Terran Federation withdraws from the Galactic Trade Consortium. All trade agreements, defense pacts, and cooperation treaties are hereby terminated. The impact of her words sent shockwaves through the assembly. For the first time in the consortium's 1,000-year history, a member species was voluntarily leaving galactic civilization behind. Kethvar's compound eyes widened in what might have been fear as he realized what he had unleashed. Ambassador Chen, surely you cannot be serious. The Zelani Prime Minister buzzed frantically. No species can survive in isolation. The galaxy is too dangerous, too complex for any single civilization to navigate alone. Sarah smiled, but there was no warmth in the expression. Prime Minister, humanity survived and thrived for millennia before we met any of you. We explored our solar system, developed our technology, and built our civilization without alien guidance or permission. I suspect we'll manage just fine without your oversight. Marcus and Elena flanked their ambassador as the three humans walked toward the chamber exit. Behind them, the carefully constructed order of galactic civilization began to crack as representatives realized what they had just lost. Panicked voices rose in a dozen languages as aliens began to understand the implications of humanity's departure. As the door closed behind them, Sarah felt a weight lifting from her shoulders. For 15 years, she had fought for humanity's place in a system designed to keep them subordinate. Now, for the first time since arriving on Omega 7, she felt truly hopeful about humanity's future among the stars. The galaxy that had rejected humanity as too dangerous to include was about to learn what the universe looked like without human innovation, human courage, and human determination. The lesson would be harsh, but it was long overdue. The consequences unfold. 6 months after humanity's dramatic departure from the Galactic Trade Consortium, the ripple effects were spreading across known space like cracks in breaking ice. On the bridge of the Earth vessel Horizon's Edge, Captain Rodriguez monitored the latest intelligence reports with grim satisfaction. The aliens who had been so eager to see humanity isolated were discovering exactly what they had lost. Commander Lisa Park, his first officer, highlighted the most significant developments on the main display. Sir, the Crystalline Collective's mining operations in the Vega system have collapsed completely. Without human drilling technology, they're producing less than 30% of their previous output. Their energy exports to 17 different systems have been suspended indefinitely. Rodriguez studied the data with professional interest. The collective had been one of the most vocal opponents of human expansion, claiming that human mining techniques were too aggressive and disruptive. Now their traditional methods were proving completely inadequate for the complex extraction required in modern galactic industry. Dr. Vasquez entered the bridge carrying a tablet full of medical reports that painted an even grimmer picture. Marcus, the situation in the Outer Rim territories is getting desperate. 3 different plagues have broken out in systems where human medical stations used to provide emergency care. The local alien authorities can't replicate our treatments, and thousands are dying from diseases we could cure easily. The irony wasn't lost on any of them. The same alien governments that had accused humanity of conducting illegal medical experiments were now begging for access to human pharmaceutical databases. The advanced treatments that human doctors had developed and shared freely were no longer available, and alien medicine was proving centuries behind human capabilities. Navigation Officer James Chen highlighted another crisis on the tactical display. Captain, we're receiving distress signals from the Centauri commercial route. Pirate attacks have increased by 400% since our patrol ships were withdrawn. The alien security forces can't keep up with the raids, and merchant shipping is collapsing throughout the sector. Rodriguez wasn't surprised. Human patrol fleets had maintained peace along the major trade routes for over a decade, providing security that alien governments had taken for granted. The fast, well-armed human vessels had made piracy almost impossible in most systems. Without that protection, raiders were growing bold and merchant ships were staying in port rather than risk attack. On Earth, President Maria Santos addressed the United World Assembly with news that would have been unthinkable just months earlier. My fellow citizens, I'm pleased to report that humanity's withdrawal from galactic civilization has exceeded our most optimistic projections. Our colonial expansion program has accelerated dramatically without alien restrictions. We have established 37 new settlements in previously unexplored systems, and our survey fleets have discovered resources beyond our wildest dreams. The President gestured toward a holographic display showing humanity's expanding sphere of influence. More importantly, our scientists and engineers are making breakthrough discoveries at an unprecedented pace. Without alien oversight committees slowing our research, we have developed new propulsion systems, medical treatments, and manufacturing techniques that surpass anything we achieved while bound by consortium regulations. Dr. Sarah Kim, now serving as Director of Human Sciences, announced developments that would have been impossible under alien oversight. Our new quantum processing systems have increased computer efficiency by 3,000%. Our advanced terraforming technology can now transform a dead world into a garden paradise in just 8 months. Our latest medical breakthroughs have virtually eliminated genetic diseases and extended human lifespan by an average of 40 years. The technological renaissance was possible because human scientists were no longer required to share their discoveries with alien committees or modify their research to accommodate species with different needs and capabilities. Human ingenuity, freed from bureaucratic constraints, was achieving things that amazed even the researchers themselves. Meanwhile, in the alien sectors of the galaxy, the situation was deteriorating rapidly. On the Zelani homeworld, Prime Minister Kethbar faced angry crowds protesting the economic collapse that had followed humanity's departure. The efficient human shipping networks that had carried Zelani goods throughout the galaxy were gone, replaced by slower and more expensive alien alternatives that couldn't meet demand. Kethfar's assistant, a younger Zelani named Clicktle, brought him the latest economic reports with obvious distress. Prime Minister, our export revenues have dropped by 70%. The human transportation networks handled 60% of our interstellar trade. Without them, we can't get our products to market efficiently. The situation was even worse than the numbers suggested. Human logistics software had optimized shipping routes, reduced waste, and coordinated complex supply chains across dozens of star systems. Alien alternatives were proving primitive by comparison, leading to delays, losses, and frustrated customers throughout the galaxy. In the Aquatic Federation's capital city of Deep Current, Prime Coordinator Wavesong faced a crisis that threatened her entire civilization. The human fishing techniques and aquaculture systems that had prevented famine were no longer available, and traditional methods couldn't support the Federation's expanded population. Coordinator, our food production has fallen below sustainable levels, reported her chief advisor, a being called Tiderunner. Without human efficiency improvements, we cannot feed our current population. We're facing the worst food crisis in our species' history. Wavesong had been one of the aliens who voted to restrict human activities, convinced that human success was somehow unfair to species with less advanced capabilities. Now she was learning that fairness was irrelevant when faced with starvation. The tree folk were experiencing their own catastrophe as worlds that human terraforming had saved began to revert to their previous dead states. Without human maintenance and expertise, the carefully balanced ecosystems were collapsing. Entire planets that had been restored to life were dying again, taking millions of tree folk with them. Elder Rootdeep, the ancient leader of the Tree Folk Confederation, sent desperate messages to every government in the galaxy seeking help that none could provide. Our restored worlds are failing. The human techniques that brought life to dead planets required ongoing maintenance that we do not understand. We are watching the death of civilizations that human science had saved. Perhaps most troubling for the alien governments was the growing awareness that humanity wasn't suffering from their isolation. Intelligence reports from the expanding human territories painted a picture of unprecedented prosperity and growth. Human colonies were thriving without alien trade. Human technology was advancing without alien oversight. Human civilization was stronger and more dynamic than it had ever been while bound by consortium regulations. Ambassador Chen, now serving as Earth's Foreign Intelligence Director, briefed President Santos on the latest developments from alien space. Madam President, our sources indicate that 17 different alien governments have sent secret delegations requesting emergency assistance. They're offering significant concessions in exchange for resumed cooperation, including recognition of all human territorial claims and removal of previous restrictions on human activities. The President considered this information carefully. What's our response to these requests, Sarah? Chen's smile was cold and professional. We've informed them that humanity is no longer interested in joining systems that don't want us as equal partners. If they wish to purchase human goods or services, they can do so through normal commercial channels at market rates. But there will be no special relationships or preferential treatment for governments that chose to treat us as a threat. The galaxy that had feared human success was learning what failure looked like without human solutions. Trade networks were collapsing without human efficiency. Medical crises were spreading without human treatments. Security was failing without human protection. Research was stagnating without human innovation. More importantly, the aliens were beginning to understand that humanity had never needed the galactic community as much as the community had needed humanity. Human resilience, creativity, and determination had built a civilization that could thrive anywhere, with or without alien approval. On the bridge of the horizon's edge, Captain Rodriguez received a priority transmission from Earth Command. The message was brief but significant. All human territories are now declared fully independent and self-sufficient. Colonial expansion will continue as planned. No restrictions apply. Rodriguez looked out at the stars visible through the bridge viewports, knowing that many of them were being explored by human ships for the first time. Somewhere out there, human colonies were being established on worlds that would never have been accessible under alien regulations. Human scientists were making discoveries that would have been impossible under alien oversight. Human civilization was growing stronger every day. The galaxy had wanted humanity to know its place. Now they were learning what the universe looked like when humanity chose its own place among the stars, free from fear and unrestricted by those who could never match human achievement. The consequences of their decision were only beginning to unfold, and the aliens who had driven humanity away were starting to realize they had made the greatest mistake in galactic history.